flying back in the air. 2 more laps to go.
8 drivers, 4 races. These are the moments that define champions.
Zach Novak, final time to the start-finish line, takes the checkered flag and wins.
Who will reach the peak? The battle begins now. Let's go playoff racing!
"40 of the best sim racers, $100,000 on the line. Who will rise to the challenge?" This is the most competitive and sought-after season in iRacing World Championship history. This is where legends are made. This is the Porsche Esports Super Cup.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Sec's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Good evening, everyone. Once again, it's that time for Just Send It. This week, the TCR cars around Mount Panorama Bathurst, and the Audis will battle the mountain for 40 minutes of racing coming up very, very soon. My name is Jay Kennedy, joined in the box tonight by firstly Cameron Dance. Cam, we're going to be in for a hell of a show. The first time that these cars have driven the mountain in an iRacing broadcasted series. It's been tested quite a few times over the past couple of weeks, but to see them out on track tonight is going to be really, really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a fantastic race. Obviously, many test sessions have gone up and hosted races and all that sort of stuff have been up in the past, but it's pretty much the first real time we're going to see any proper racing around the mountain in these new TCR cars. So it'll be really, really exciting to see how this all goes and what sort of racing we might see tonight.
And joining us once again after his debut last week, Lachlan Mansell. We couldn't kick you out of the booth, mate. You wanted to come back in again. Welcome along.
I had so much fun last week, Jay and Cam, that I just had to come back and do it all again. But isn't it appropriate to have TCR cars on Mount Panorama tonight, given that it was very recently announced that the Australian Racing Group, the organisation that's responsible for running TCR here in Australia, has secured the 5th slot for a racing event at Mount Panorama for 2020 and beyond. TCR cars are going to be heading to the mountain in real life, but what a great opportunity for some of our sim racing specialists and some of our real life pro drivers to get a taste of TCR cars on the mountain in the virtual world.
And it's pretty cool as well to have some names from the real life TCR series out on track, and we'll get some pictures through of some of those drivers in just a moment, because there's some big names out on track once again tonight, which is great to see. We love seeing all the big names come out each and every week, and tonight is no exception. We've got plenty of big name drivers out on track. The number one that we probably should focus on, considering we're doing TCR tonight, is Dylan O'Keefe. He's out there on track. Very, very quick in practice, very, very quick in qualifying. He'll be looking to absolutely stamp his name in this race. This suits him to a T.
Yeah, absolutely. He's obviously real-life driver in the TCR series here in Australia, so really going to be interesting to see how he goes. Should go quite all right. We've seen him do few races in the past, and he's done quite well. So pretty much, literally, jump out of the car one weekend and it 2 days later. So going to be real good to see what he does.
That's awkward, but Lockie, I know that you were hanging out with him on the weekend and actually got to drive this combination at his house on the weekend against his dad.
Indeed, I did. I'm sorry that you had to bring that up because I know that Dylan's dad, Chris, will be tuning into the live stream tonight, and he will expect me to remind everybody that yes, he did beat me.
I had to ask.
We were going at it. We were doing the laps in the Audi TCR car, actually around Field of Ireland, and yes, Chris O'Keefe went a bit faster than I did. But for Dylan and also Aaron Cameron is another TCR driver, and Nathan Morecambe, another TCR real-life driver who's in the field tonight. So good to see some of our real-life TCR competitors having a taste of the Just Send It action.
I'm just trying to see the exact number of drivers out on track. I believe it's 58 cars out there at the moment. There's a few other drivers that haven't quite arrived yet. That number 11 car is Scott McLaughlin. He is back out on track after a couple of weeks break. So great to see Scotty back out on track once again. He'll be trying to get a little bit of practice dialed in for his visit to the mountain in a couple of weeks' time, so good to see him back. We've also got a few other drivers that have been regulars in the series. James Golding is back again this week, and as you said, Aaron Cameron out on track. Also got Glenn Wood back once again. Nick Foster's back out on track once again. I must say that the little bit of rivalry going on between James Golding and Dylan O'Keefe over the last couple of days has been quite entertaining.
It has indeed. There's been a lot of banter going on and a lot of rivalries and egos clashing and all that sort of stuff. So it's made a really, really exciting weekend as of recently. And yeah, it's going to be no different tonight, that's for sure.
Now, we were talking before we came on air, Lachlan, that the drivers were talking about the tyres and how they do take a little bit to get up to temp, which is the same as in real life. The rears are really, really tough to get up to temperature. Once you've got them up to temp, though, there's a lot of grip in these cars.
Indeed. So one of the big talking points has been the new tyre model that iRating has gone to, and by all reports it's a lot more accurate and realistic compared to what the drivers experience in real life. And in TCR cars, that means that it is quite difficult to get the rear tyres up to temperature. Obviously, being front-wheel drive cars on slick tyres, it's the front tyres that do all of the work. And we saw in the real-life TCR series, particularly in the opening couple of rounds, a few incidents where drivers on cold rear tyres were losing control of their cars. So I think we might be in for a bit of pandemonium in the early laps of tonight's race. Hopefully we don't get the carnage that we've seen the last couple of weeks, the Aston Martins at Road America last week, and also the big pile-up that we saw in the Mazda MX-5s at Catalonia the week before.
There has been live race control added to this series as well, so there's now a driving standards observer watching over this race. So he has been threatening to hand out the band hammer. Track conditions are very, very cool conditions. We are racing at 7:45 a.m. at Mount Panorama, so it is fairly cool on track. 26 degrees track temp, 22 in the air, a little bit of wind, which will help the drivers up Mountain Straight. Down Conrod Straight, I should say, coming from the northwest. The other thing too, as we said, as per every other race, 40-minute race, one competition caution, which will be interesting. The drivers that have timed the competition cautions in previous weeks have really got a big advantage, and it's also given an opportunity for guys who have had a little bit of bad luck to be able to get back into the race as well.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. It's one of those things where you've kind of got to try minimize the mistakes and all that sort of stuff, and just make sure you make it to the end, especially around here where you've got concrete walls pretty much either side for a majority of the laps. So one mistake's really just going to end it all, but at the same time, it could possibly mean that your race is still going because you've got that fast pair, and you can also possibly have a lot of other incidents happen along the race. So it's really going to end it really interestingly.
One of the other things as well, and thanks for sending through the race results earlier on today, Jay, but just going through the race finishing positions and also the starting positions of the race winners, qualifying is very important, and that's reflected in the grid positions that our race winners in the first 5 weeks of Just Send It have come from. On only one occasion has the race winner come from outside the top 4 on the grid, and that was Dean O'Brien in the Mazda MX-5s, who came from grid position 25 to win in Catalonia. So you really do want to try and qualify up the order so that you're not exposed to that early cut and thrust of the mid-pack that we've seen.
We'll quickly run through our starting grid. It will scroll through on screen, but Josh Anderson and Cooper Webster will be the front row. Bailey Sweeney and Jackson Susan Harlow. Jackson had a fantastic race last night in our Monday V8 series, so make sure you do tune into that if you have not seen that yet. Beau Albert and Dean O'Brien on the third row with Dylan O'Keefe, the first of our pros, in position 7. Brian Borg in 8th, and the rest of the grid will scroll through on screen because we're only 30 seconds away from getting the green flag. It's incredible how quick we will get to it. The drivers are doing a standing start as well. Actually, they're doing a rolling start. We had a discussion earlier today about a rolling versus standing start. It looks like they changed their mind and going for a rolling start in the end, which will actually give the drivers a tiny little bit more time to get a bit of temp into the tyres as well.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of the things that we were talking about just before, is that this car, obviously being front-wheel drive, doesn't heat up the rear tyres all that much. So you've got to give it 1 or 2 or 3 laps to really get some temp to them, and then you can really, really start ragging the car. And really going to be interesting to see how turn 1's going to go with, obviously, the car being front-wheel drive and not having too much rear temp. So, yeah, looking forward to it, and fingers crossed we don't end up with a massive pile-up.
So Josh Anderson in the 36 car, of course, very, very familiar name to us here at SimSpeed TV, but also probably should say that he's probably the first pro as well, because of course racing Super Utes at Bathurst in a couple of weeks, also races in the Aussie racing car, so very, very well known, and Cooper Webster right alongside. So those two will have the front row. So hopefully we get through this first lap clean with 57 TCR cars hitting the grid here at Mount Panorama, and we're going to get the green flag. Away we go. Good job.
Great start so far from pretty much everyone. It looks relatively clean. Everybody's made it down the front straight with no carnage in the final corner either. A couple of drivers making moves at turn 1. No accidents either so far. A few drivers running wide, a few going up the inside, but for the most part, we're all clean up Mount straight.
Yep, we have got through turn 1 clean. The issue is now we're coming up to the more dangerous part of the track. Turn number 2, and it's on between Cooper Webster and Josh Anderson straight away. This is a good little fight straight off the bat.
Cooper Webster's one of the front-running drivers in the Victorian XL Racing Series, so he understands how front-wheel drive cars will handle, and he is putting pressure on Josh Anderson as they head up into the cutting on this opening lap.
And the most part, single file, back of the field. Oh no, we've got a big incident.
Oh, multiple cars involved in that one. That looks like almost a bit reminiscent of the Greg Murphy and
the track
Marcus
is
Ambrose
blocked.
crash.
Track is completely blocked up the top of the mountain. I can see a car up on 2 wheels as Steve Owen backs up to give a little bit of room and then shunts a few other people around. That's how you do it. Who's that going upside down? I believe that's Ryan Gorton. We'll go back to the front of the field though, because it is well and truly on at the front. Cooper Webster is putting a lot of pressure on, and Jackson Susan Harlow looking for redemption at this track. Last night he wasn't quite able to get the second place away from Brady Myers, and now has a real big opportunity to take second and maybe first away from Webster and Anderson.
Yeah, not too good of a run out of Forest Elbow on the Conrod straight, but it's obviously going to be a bit of draft in these cars, obviously being quite square, so going to be punching big holes. And as you can see, both Anderson and Webster trying to break the draft to Harlow, but Harlow is closing in with that draft being right up behind, and Webster's going to look to go
on the limiter,
the outside on the limiter even, and now Harlow's going to actually throw it up the inside of Webster, going to try and make a little bit of contact as well. That's going to mean Webster's probably going to have a slowdown from that, and he does indeed, so Webster's going to drop down the order.
We do once again have the awards to keep an eye on for tonight. So we've got the best send of the evening, we've got the biggest failed send, and also the best postman award for the driver who makes up the most positions from where they started.
I've also got to thank as well the big sponsors behind the scenes that make it all work too. Hype Project, Wolfchester, Jack Technologies, GB Galvanizing, Vantage Freight and SimWorks for all their support behind the scenes here at Just Send It. Of course, there is a pit stop required in this race, and a little bit surprising to see so many cars in the pit lane already, but Anyway, that's what's happening right now. There's plenty in there, and Cooper Webster trying to get his spot back and goes straight past Dean O'Brien. Dylan O'Keefe now up into 6th position. He's doing quite well at the moment too.
Yeah, he's definitely going all right at the moment. Obviously, being in P6 at the moment, started in 7th, so hasn't moved up too many positions, but he's not too far behind this little lead pack of Cooper Webster and Dean O'Brien. So I'm interested to see how many more positions he can gain. But at the moment, in front of the field, Anderson is really checked out from Jackson Susan Harlow.
He has, but have a look at this little battle here. Scotty McLaughlin is feeling a lot of pressure from another one of our regulars here on SimSpeed TV, that being Job Stewart from Pursuit Sim Racing. So these two are having a little bit of a fight here. This is going to be really interesting. Watch Cooper Webster and Phil Letchford as well in this battle, as Phil Letchford just goes a little bit wide and he's going to lose a spot to Cooper Murray. And now the really tough battle down the mountain. It's really tough with the front brakes. Oh no, McLaughlin's in the wall and Dylan O'Keefe has had an issue as well. And I think we need a replay of what's happened there to McLaughlin.
Yeah, McLaughlin's actually done that all on his own. I'm not exactly sure what he's done there. Possibly just locked the rear wheels a bit on the way down the mountain and he's just ended up backing it into the wall. Not too major of a hit to the wall, but probably just enough to have damaged that rear bodywork a little bit.
Big advantage though is it was the rear of the car, so you might get away with that. Just down a little bit on straight line speed possibly, but we go up the field a little bit because Bo Albert and Dylan O'Keefe now in a little battle after O'Keefe lost the spot to Simon Feigl. That's the team manager at Logitech G Altus Esports. So he's in a little bit of an Altus sandwich at the moment is O'Keefe.
I'm loving how these cars have got the LED displays in the window that shows you what position they're in. That's technology that's also implemented in real life racing right around the world so that spectators who are at the track know what position their favourite driver's in. But it's been replicated on the sim as well, which is really cool.
A few series around the world now using that system, which is really cool. As you said, it's awesome to have it in sim as well. So helps. And just having a quick glance at cars throughout the field to see who's a lap down is probably the easiest one, because by the end of this race the cars are all going to be mixed up in different packs and different piles. So this little pack continues on. We saw that Job Stewart was tucked in behind Scott McLaughlin. Well, now he's backed away from that little pack and he's now heading up another pack of cars. Thomas Hinds, Glenn Wood, Craig Edwards and Ben McClelland also in this little pack of cars. So McLaughlin is feeling the heat from behind right now.
Yeah, and this is one of the cool things about this series is you can have those pro drivers and then you can have those who have just been sim racing and keeping up with these very small jokers who have been doing this real life stuff for a while. So really, really good to see the likes of Thomas Hinds and Glenn Wood and all those sort of sim racers who have been keeping up with these fellow large drivers. As we've got we've had a big shunt with Jackson Susan Harlow and Dina O'Brien in at the dipper. What has happened there?
Oh, this is going to be big. You just know, because you know that these two guys are quick. And looks like something with O'Brien, because Susan Harlow, where's he? No, Susan Harlow was ahead. There was another car off in front of them. He's just bounced it off the curb and looped it around. And O'Brien's just going to come in here, full speed, and do this on his own as well, I think.
So it was actually two completely separate incidents there, but that's a shame for Jackson Susan Harlow because he was running in second position at the time.
Looks like he's just been checked up by his teammate ahead there. Now, I'm not sure who that was ahead. I'm not sure. It must have been someone that was a lap down that's causing him to get on the brake a little bit early there.
Yeah, I believe
possibly
it was
Ryan Gorton.
Yeah, it was Ryan Gorton by the looks of it. So unfortunate for teammates to end up running into issues after being checked up, but nevertheless it's obviously got that fast repair, so he'll be able to carry on. As we just see on the front straight to the side of the picture, Scott McLaughlin squeezing Thomas Hinds as much as he can.
Oh no!
And then even a little bit of contact with wheel to wheel, and now McLaughlin's going to end up losing 2 positions out of even 3 or 4 by the looks of it to McMullen, Edwards and Glenn Wood as well. So McLaughlin's going to really want redemption on this part after this little moment.
Do we see a big send right here from McLaughlin? These guys, McClelland, Wood and McLaughlin are all on the same Discord chatting together as there's contact between Hinds and Wood. He's forced wide and Craig Edwards is going to go up through as well. We saw Craig Edwards last week had some great pace. Wasn't quite able to do it. Oh, no!
Oh no, and Scott McLaughlin I think's been caught up in that incident as well. 2x2 up into the cutting.
Oh, no.
It's pretty risky stuff.
I was just holding my breath then because I could see another big one happening there. Let's go back and have another look at that. That was huge.
Yeah, not exactly sure what happened there, but it looks like the car of Glenwood was actually just trying to come back across and probably didn't quite see where McMullen was, just turned straight into the wall, and then as Glenwood's just ended up spearing across the track straight into the path of Scott McLaughlin. So massive incident there for McLaughlin, and he's ended up basically over the track and ended up back in pit lane.
Yep, he got teleported back to the pit lane there because he's ended up out of the track circuit, out of the actual circuit. So unfortunate there for Scotty Mack. He's had another early night, so hopefully he comes back out on track and has a little bit better of a run. But that's 2 in a row at Bathurst for Just Send It that he hasn't had a great result. Of course, our first one when it was still called the Tuesday Night Special. Our first broadcast of this series, he didn't have a great night there, but Josh Anderson now to a 3-second lead over Cooper Webster. All the battles are in this mid-pack now. Cooper Murray and Job Stewart going at it at the moment.
Cooper Murray doing a good job. So he races in real life in the Porsche Carrera Cup Australia series. Actually got his first round win in that series at Townsville a couple of months ago. Great to see him part of the action tonight.
And no stranger to our broadcast here on SimSpeed TV as well, former team member of the old ANZ Motorsports, which of course had Scott McLaughlin, Shane Van Gisbergen and Justin Rougier as part of that sim racing team. So definitely has some very, very good sim racing experience as Cooper Murray. And is leading this little fight here between Job Stewart and Phil Letchford, but we're going to cut away from this little battle and go to some other action out on the circuit, because these guys, while they're close, there's some other cars that are a little bit closer back down the field. Let's go to this little battle on the front straight here as Dylan O'Keefe, who is back out after his pit stop, just tucked in behind Jackson Suzlin-Harlow and Josh Morris as Suzlin-Harlow goes through on Morris, and O'Keefe might take that one as well.
Yeah, looks like O'Keefe's got a pretty solid run. He set that corner exit up quite well, trying to get the over and under to get the run, and he's pretty much done that as it's nearly making door-to-door contact with Josh Morris as they head up Mountain Straight now, as you can see, relatively close. So O'Keefe's cleared him before they've even got to the brake zone, and O'Keefe will slot into that position of 20th.
When I was having a chat to Dylan about strategy for this race, he was very conscious of not being trapped by a safety car, because there were a couple of rounds where he left his pit stop till quite late, had to take the pit stop after the competition caution, and it really compromised his race. So tonight he's gone for the early pit stop option, and he's currently the highest placed of the cars that's done a pit stop. So if the competition caution was to come out now, he'd be in a pretty good strategic position.
Yeah, hopefully for him he finds himself in that spot, because as we've said before, when the caution does come out in this series, the pits do close. It is NASCAR rules for the competition caution. So yeah, as you said, you don't want to get caught out. I'll tell you what, getting caught out there, that was the curb that caught him out. That's a huge mistake, and he's going to lose that spot to Josh Morris and lose all of that work that he's just done trying to close back in on Jackson Suzlin-Harlow. That was a lucky save though.
Yeah, he nearly put it in the wall 2 times actually, so very, very lucky to get away with that and only lose a single position out of it, and a little bit of time as well. Could have been very, very much worse, and obviously getting some damage and possibly have to pit again for some damage.
That's that would have been pretty nervous, seeing that wall at the dipper closing up so quick. You would have been absolutely holding on, hoping that you weren't going to hit it. And, good driving in the end there to save that for Dylan O'Keefe. He's dropped 1 spot. Actually, he's just got that spot back, but he's off at the chase as well. So he's struggling with these tyres, getting them quite up to temp. But he's still the top place driver that has pitted.
That's sort of the downside or the disadvantage of making the early pit stop, isn't it? If you decide that you're going to put new tyres on, then your tyres will lose all of their temperature and you'll be exposed while you're out there on cold tyres and everybody else is on warm tyres.
Just watching a battle back in the field a little bit. There's a few other drivers that are involved in fights. There's just ahead there. That's Blake Neck. I believe he's trying to pass in Nick Carroll, it is. Blake Neck in the blue Audi and Nick Carroll in the grey. Is almost carbon fibre looking Audi. Side by side into Griffin's Bend. We always know that does not work. Nick Carroll tucks back in behind.
Pretty much the same colour scheme on Nick Carroll's TCR Audi tonight as the Falcon V8 supercar that he races in the Kumo Super 3 Series.
Yep, very, very similar. See in the background there, side by side through the cutting between Hansen and not sure who that other driver was there. Sorry, my timing screen has just decided to go a little bit haywire. We're going up the field a little bit though, because Andre Borrell and Aaron Hindle having a little fight here with David Lord, and Emerson Harvey also in this battle, and Brad Newman as well. So some drivers that are very, very familiar to us here at SimSpeed TV in this battle.
And again, drivers who've got real life experience as well. Aaron Hindle, another Excel competitor. Andre Burrell, the former racer in the Australian Formula Ford Championship.
Very, very cool little battle pack here. 5 cars all together. How cool do these cars look? Under brakes into the chase. They're just moving all over the place, trying to find a piece of road that they can keep control on. It's such a cool little piece of track. And looks like a lot of drivers coming into the lane. I can see pit lane. Oh, have a look at this from Borrell. Almost throwing a move on, I believe that's Brad Newman who was coming into the pits there. Almost threw a move on him into the pit lane. That would have been a bit extraordinary.
Yeah, that would have definitely been a bit different. It's not easy to pass in pit lane with how single-lined it is, but if he did pull it off, it would have been definitely one for the highlight reel, as it's probably a first that we've ever seen a car passing in the pit lane. But nevertheless, head back to the front of the field, and Anderson's still leading, and Webster's actually closed that gap to Joshua Anderson at the moment. So really going to be interesting to see how this battle pans out, and they're not too far behind. You've got obviously a few other cars, the likes of Bailey Sweeney, Simon Fogel, Albert, and then Cooper Murray just down the road.
Yeah, last lap by it was 0.8 of a second between Anderson and Webster. So Webster really closing in that gap in the Evolution Racing Team car. Doing a good job, and that gap still closing down. You can actually see, not only just in the timing, you can see the gap visibly closing. He's doing a great job at the moment, is Cooper Webster.
Wonder if maybe Josh Anderson went a bit too hard too early and took too much life out of his tyres.
That is very, very possible, and you can see now he's getting a bit of draft to help him out. Love seeing the cars on the limiter on the straight too, as we're nearly at halfway. Can you believe we're almost halfway through this race? It is flying by so quickly. It's incredible how quick this race has gone. As Cooper Webster side by side through the chase, and he gained about 4.5 of a second down Conrod Straight just with the draft. That is huge.
Yeah, that's actually quite a bit of difference, especially as Ryan Jones just re-entering the circuit there after going off at the chase.
He might have to stay in the comms box.
Yeah, he might do. But Cooper Webster still managing to close, and like you said, 4/10 in that draft is a huge advantage, especially in these cars where it's so even and it's even fixed setup as well. So really, really going to be interesting to see what's going to happen here. And also, do have to remember that these two are still yet to take the compulsory pit stop as well, and we're yet to have that caution as well.
Saw a move there for Simon Feigl through on Bailey Sweeney, and here we go, bump draft engaged, full NASCAR spec. You can't get past someone up Mountain Straight, at least push them up there so you both get up there quicker.
Yeah, for sure. It's obviously very, very good tactics. They're probably picking up at least, I'd say, 5k an hour down that straightaway just by pushing each other. But
didn't work.
At the moment, didn't quite work at the moment. But at the moment, the two oldest cars are Bo Albert and Simon Feigl just sitting in formation for the time being, trying to hunt down, obviously, the car of Joshua Anderson and Cooper Webster. So see what sort of lap time. They were slightly quicker, or slightly slower, sorry, than Anderson, and Webster actually quite a bit quicker than Anderson that last time by as well.
It's a driver that you were watching earlier, Lucky. He's making a move here up the inside.
Lachlan Maneath, an Australian Formula Ford Championship competitor, and forces Andre Burrell a bit wide, so a former Australian Formula Ford Championship driver getting forced wide by a current Formula Ford competitor. Lachlan Maneath muscles his way through.
Let's get a modem simulation replay, because that was a pretty aggressive move, and you can see the bump there. You can actually see the movement of the car It's a pretty decent hit, that. So,
Is that a nomination for best send, do we think?
well, it was a good send. I mean, there was a little bit of contact, but I think that was pretty fair. I think it actually just the curb, he actually left room. It was just the curb unsettled the car a little bit too much. It wasn't a bad move.
Yeah, it actually wasn't too bad. Pretty textbook move there by the inside car, but yeah, nevertheless, got on screen once again. Bo Albert and Bailey Sweeney going at it at the chase with Simon Feigl also in that little pack just ahead. Feigl going defensive on his teammate Bo Albert. Oh, Bo nearly locking the res. Even a little bit of contact between the two teammates now. That's going to allow Bailey Sweeney up the inside and have a run on Bo Albert. He's going to clear Bo before they even get to the brake zone, so slot in front and try and chase down Simon Feigl once again.
That was a good move there from Bailey Sweeney. Well done to get that move done. Of course, he lost out with that bump draft on the previous lap, trying to bump Simon Feigl up the up mountain straight. But now Bo Albert bumping him, and now they're side by side again, 2 laps in a row.
Yeah, you definitely can't make this sort of stuff up, having the Altus car side by side with Bailey Sweeney 2 laps in a row. Different driver, obviously, but if you didn't quite look hard enough, you'd think it was the same car and driver combo. But nevertheless, Bo Albert holding on to the position for the time being, even though he didn't quite get a good run and have a little bit of contact in that final corner as well.
Gap at the front's extended back out again now, so a little bit of lost ground for Cooper Webster on that last lap. Only 0.2 of a second, but enough to be noticeable as we hit the halfway point. It's now 2.7 seconds first to second. There's the gap.
And they're the only 2 runners at the moment who are lapping in the 2-minute 18 bracket. All of the other key contenders are in the 19s and 20s. So Anderson and Webster doing a good job in building a big margin over the rest of the field.
The other advantage they got is that little battle pack that's behind there, Feigl, Albert and Sweeney. They're actually battling each other, so that's slowing them down even further. So while they've got great pace, the second pack behind isn't going to catch them while they're battling as hard as they are.
Just having a look at drivers who've made up a lot of positions and drivers who are in contention for the Best Postman Award. Christina Nazarick in position number 17. She's come up 32 spots, so that's a massive improvement. Obviously, we've still got the pit stop cycle to play out. That's a really good gain for Christina.
There's not many drivers that haven't pitted yet either, so what have we got? 2 plus 11, so 13 cars left to pit at the halfway point of the race. So, of course, the competition caution still to come, which probably won't be far away, we would think. So, it's actually going to be a really interesting finish to this race. Thomas Hinds, the highest placed driver who has made his pit stop. Phil Letchford just behind. And Dylan O'Keefe, the 3rd placed driver out of those that have made their pit stop. And I'm just wondering if this is a little redressive position here, because these 2 have just changed spots. Andre Burrell and Lachlan Manif. Will they continue their fight, or is this a redress?
I think they've continued their fight, although...
Oh, he's hit the wall!
Oh, he's just brushed the wall on the exit of McPhilby there. Nearly ended up being worse, but looking like Borrell's managed to just go up the inside there and possibly damage for Lachlan there.
Bit of advice for Lockie Manif. He actually sent me on the previous lap a message on Facebook. Lockie, less messaging and more concentrating on your driving, mate.
It's something you do, wouldn't it, Cam? You've been known to send a message before in the middle of a race, haven't you?
May or may not have done that on the odd occasion a few times before in the broadcast chat.
Nearly every race. Get a message from Cam in the broadcast chat. It's always good. It's Brian Borg and Matt Morris here have a very, very good fight. They've just changed positions 3 times in 3 corners, and they're going to go again. Matt Morris has got the run and momentum into Hell Corner. He might not be close enough to throw it up the inside of Brian Borg, though.
Not quite close enough to make the move, but he's going to have the draft up Mountain Straight with that car of Aaron Hindle as well, leaving pit lane. So this is going to end up helping Matt Morris as well, because he's on the right side now. This is also going to help Brian Borg because he's on the other side. Oh, a bit of door banging is this is going to possibly end messy.
This is going to be really bad. Borg on the brakes early, but the issue is that Hindle's on the brakes a bit early too. Oh, there's contact between Hindle and Morris as well. This is a great little fight. And just in the background there, Andrew Collins getting in it too. Don't go up the inside there, Borgie. Oh, that was close. What a fight this is.
Yeah, these boys are definitely not leaving anything on the table. Fighting for sheep stations, that's for sure, and giving it everything they possibly can, using every little bit of racetrack as well, and fenders. So really, really good little battle we've got here, and there it is. The competition caution is out.
Here we go. So, safety car. This will neutralise our field, and it's going to catch out the likes of Josh Anderson, Cooper Webster, Simon Feigl, Bo Albert, Bailey Sweeney, Cooper Murray, and Craig Edwards and David Lord, as well as Lachlan Manif. We might get another message from Lockie in a minute, because he might be able to text while he's stopped in the pits.
Well, this has just ruined his strategy, hasn't it? The fact that he's yet to take his pit stop and the competition cautions come out. So for the likes of Josh Anderson and Cooper Webster, it was pretty risky stuff staying out there while a lot of the other cars had already taken their stops, because it was always going to leave them exposed if a competition caution came out, and it has. And now they can't stop, and they're going to have to stop under safety car, and they're going to fall behind a lot of the cars that have already pitted.
Yeah, exactly right. They'll probably pop out around about 25th place, of course, depending on how much fuel they actually put into the car. And it looks like, on average, between some drivers have gone as low as 3 seconds worth of fuel, and others have gone as much as 16, 17 seconds worth of fuel. So it's sort of hard to give a real guide on how much fuel these guys will need. But as you said, Anderson really in a tough spot in regards to strategy. Job Stewart is the big winner out of this, because he is the highest placed car that has made his pit stop. So Job Stewart looking strong for potentially stealing a race win here.
Yeah, and Thomas Hin's also possibly in with a chance of winning, as well as Dylan O'Keefe and a number of other drivers down the order at the moment who are going to gain from this. Those who haven't pitted are going to be pitting under safety car, or will have to pit after the safety car. So going to be really interesting to see what happens to this order and who ends up where.
Previous best result for Job Stewart in the Just Send It was 6th position in the Audi at Monza. And as well, just going back through some of those results that you sent me earlier today, Joe, we've actually had 5 different race winners from the 5 weeks of Just Send It so far. So very distinct possibility we could make it 6 from 6 this evening.
Yeah, with those guys that are going to be at the front on the restart based on where they are, considering they've pitted, there is a very, very high possibility of a 6th different race winner tonight. So this is going to be an exciting little finish here. I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out. And of course, you look at the fastest lap times. Phil Ledgeford in 3rd position. He could actually be in the prime spot, because he's been the fastest out of those top 5, 6, 7 cars that are going to be there at the restart. So this is going to be really, really interesting. Emerson Harvey also finds himself in a good spot, because he has only just come out of the pits. So his tyres would have been at a decent temp when he came out of the pits. Now finds himself in a pretty good spot.
They'll also be really, really fresh as well, compared to pretty much everyone else around him who has pitted. So going to be really interesting to see what Emerson can do and whether he can use those new tyres to advantage. Obviously, other thing to remember is if anybody does take tyres in the stop, they'll have to make sure they get some temp in them by weaving left and right and braking and accelerating and all that sort of stuff, just to make sure that you don't end up going into turn 1 and having a bit of a boat on your hands.
Definitely feels like a boat too if you well, a boat with ice skates, I guess it would feel like, if you haven't got enough heat in your tyres, especially when the rears aren't quite up to temp. But let's see who does come into the lane, which we're 99.99% sure it will be Anderson, Webster, Feigl, Albert, Sweeney, Murray, Edwards and Lord. And right on cue, in they come. The cars that are a lap down will get a wave around as well, so they'll be able to get back on the lead lap and get back into the competition, which will be good to see. Like it when the guys that are a lap down get back in the race. Always a good little battle that they can have. Those guys that are a lap down include Paul Williams, Aaron Cameron, Ryan Jones, James Golding, who's down the field a little bit, Reece Lowe, Ben McClellan, Dave Oliver, Glenn Morris and Ryan Jones as well. So they are all in potentially to get their lap back, as Joe Stewart is now the leader of the race. See where these other guys come out though. That's going to be the interesting thing. Where will Anderson come out? He's still stopped. And he's dropping
Bo Albert's
way
actually
down. Bo Albert's jumped
out.
everyone.
So possibly some drivers have taken tyres and some haven't. Oh, this
no.
is tight on pit exit.
They're trying to sort themselves into the correct order. Some guys weren't paying enough attention, had to take to the grass there. And who's that getting? Oh, someone's getting a wave around, so he's going to the grass to get that wave around done. Who is that?
Jay Henson, I believe.
Yep, the 18 car getting a wave around, so we'll see where that puts him in the end. But there you go, Job Stewart ready to get this race back underway. It's going to be a really, really interesting finish here. We've got Stewart there in the Pursuit Sim racing car. Then we've got Thomas Hinds in the KRF racing car. Phil Ledgeford just behind in the, not sure what livery that is. That's an old school Audi livery. That's actually quite nice. The old Audi Quattro livery from the late 80s rally car, isn't it?
I believe so. Yes,
got the old Audi logos on it. That's quite cool. Well done. Love seeing the retro liveries on the modern cars.
So Josh Anderson and also Cooper Webster, after taking that pit stop under safety car, they've come out in positions 29 and 26 respectively. So that decision to stay out and not pit early has cost them severely.
Looks like Anderson may have got a speeding in pit lane penalty. Or a penalty for something, because his pit stop time was a lot longer than everyone else. 15 seconds for a speeding in pit lane penalty. Take that off, that makes his pit stop time 8.4, which is about the same as Bo Albert. So I think Anderson's got a speeding in pit lane penalty, which makes that a little bit more heartbreaking. So the first thing you're told when you're coming into the pits, isn't it? Make sure you don't speed in the lane.
Usually the case, at least from what most people remember. It's always press the limiter or make sure you're not speeding into across the line. So yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate there for Anderson and possibly going to cost him the race here.
Could. He's going to have a lot of work to do to get up through the field from 29th position. It looks like we're ready to go this time by. It doesn't look like these lap down cars will be lucky enough to get that wave around. You can see just ahead, 2 cars ahead of Job Stewart, there is James Golding. Good to see him out on track. Last week he was supposed to race but couldn't end up racing. Good to see him actually out there racing tonight. The only issue he's got is he isn't living up to what he said on social media that he was going to beat Dylan O'Keefe this week.
He had a good run in the S5000 at Sandown on the weekend though.
Sure did. Yeah, always will be the first ever winner, so you can never have that taken away from him. But looks like we are ready to go. The lights are definitely out on the Porsche safety car. And the field is under control of, I believe, is that Paul Williams, the lead car there. So he's a lap down, or almost a lap down. So he's got a chance to get back around and may be able to gain a few spots from the back of the field. But the safety car will come in. Here we go. We've got 6 laps of racing here left for Just Send It. Week number 6. And the green flag will fly right now. Good jump from everyone. That's nice and clean. Well done. To the front of the field. See who can make moves here. Emerson Harvey already trying to make moves. And the guys are going to be careful not to pass each other before the start-finish line. Or before the finish line, I should say. It's Brian Borg. Have a look at the move from Brian Borg.
Big move.
Whoa.
Harlow copped a hit as well on the rear end from, I believe that was Andrew Collins.
Yeah, Collins.
Yeah, so bit of archie-barchie going on at the moment in these early stages of the safety car restart. A couple of drivers going 2 by 2 as well up mountain straight, but for the most part everybody seems to have sorted themselves out.
Andrew Collins has been one of the most consistent drivers in Just Send It. He's finished in the top 8 the last 4 weeks.
Dylan O'Keefe has made up a spot as well at the front of the field, so he's now up into 3rd. And he's starting to get a charge on to close in that gap to Thomas Hinds and Job Stewart. He's only 8 tenths behind, 7 tenths behind that black and pink car just ahead of our... Oh, no. Oh, no.
Big stunt at the cutting.
Oh, no. There's a big incident at the cutting. And that's Bailey Sweeney facing the wrong way. He was in 3rd, remember, not that long ago. And the Altus Esports cars have also been involved in that. So that's Simon Feigl and Bo Albert. It looks like Josh Anderson may have been involved in that one too. This looks like it's a big one.
Yeah, it was a little bit. It was only minor contact as well. That's just all that's unsettled.
Oh.
Simon Feigl, and just everybody's piled in with just absolutely nowhere to go. Anderson only just managed to squeeze on through, possibly a little bit of fender damage, but otherwise mostly unscathed.
Here comes Dylan O'Keefe. That is for position right there. That is Thomas Hinds, the car just ahead. Hinds getting a fair bit of draft, but O'Keefe will be getting some massive pull down Conrod Straight. Will he be able to use it to his advantage and maybe get this move done? I'll tell you what, if he does this, that will be the mother of all sends.
Yeah, well, indeed.
Have a look how long the limited for.
Right around the outside goes Thomas Hinton. Now O'Keefe managing to squeeze it up the inside of Luke Claver. Amazing move there from O'Keefe to move into P3. Oh no, there was a T-Sports car of, I believe, Bo Albert.
That's
Susan
Harlow.
A lot of cars off.
Yeah, that was Susan Harlow and Brian Borg involved in that one. We needed a look at that one because that was huge.
How was the evasive action from the cars having to take to the exit gravel trap as well, just to avoid getting caught up in it?
Oh, Borg just got a tiniest little tap and he's going straight across the track. Bang!
Oh!
Susan Harlow is officially out of the race, unfortunately. Have a look at this on board from Brian Borg when I can actually get the right button clicked. Sorry, everyone. Amateur hour here on SimSpeed TV. Here we go. Nope, it's changed back to the wrong person again. That's good. Here we go. Here we go. On board with Brian Borg. Watch this. This is wild. This is crazy. This is huge. So I'm not sure who the contact was from behind or from the side, but here's the wild ride incoming now. No control over the car at all. Trying to stop it. Bounces over the gravel track. Bang!
Oh.
I'll tell you what, JSH will probably need a new pair of undies because that would have been so scary for him.
He would have had no idea that that was coming. He was just minding his own business and then whack.
Job Stewart 0.8 of a second over Thomas Hinds and Dylan O'Keefe just behind. They're now all nose to tail. That is the first three cars for position. Phil Letchford's dropped from these guys. He's 3.5 seconds back, 4 seconds back. He's in a bit of trouble here as Letchford. He's got some sort of issue. Have a look at everyone absolutely swamping him right now.
Yeah, everybody's currently all over him at the moment. It's literally nothing he can really do, and that draft's going to really play havoc as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here into the chase and whether anything's going to happen. Not quite, although looks and thinks about it.
That's Emerson Harvey and Brad Newman side by side. And Emerson Harvey through into 5th position. Go back to the front because Hinds is now within 0.4 of a second. And Dylan O'Keefe not that far behind as well. This is going to be an epic fight. By the looks of it, we've only got 2 laps left because the safety car has taken another lap away from us. This is going to be a great fight all the way to the finish. Golding in his own little battle just ahead of our race leader in Job Stewart. So this is going to be an epic finish. Who's your money on here? It could be any of these guys. It could be someone in that next pack.
Yeah, it certainly could. It could be any one of these three. And Emerson Harvey off in gravel after an incident just earlier on, just before. Have a look and see what happens with Emotum Simulations replay.
Yeah, because we saw him fighting with Brad Newman in the 13 car. And that's a lap down car, the pink car, the 46 car. And Luke Claver, that was. Seen Luke in the series, I think, every week, so be a little bit upset that he's been involved in that. Hinds has made a mistake, and here comes Dylan O'Keefe. This is going to be tight. This is going to be close. This is going to be epic between these two.
Yeah, O'Keefe right there and thereabouts at the moment behind Hinds. He's not too far behind. You can see on board at the moment with O'Keefe just being nice and smooth with the car. He's actually not overly aggressive as well, so you can see the real life driving style transitioning into the sim world. And Hinds has run a little bit deep into the dipper, but has managed to pull it up nevertheless. And Job Stewart's actually been held up by a lap car here, so this is going to be a 3-car train for the win here.
Who's your money on here, Lockie? This is going to be incredible finish, a grandstand finish between three guys who have just played the strategy perfectly.
Well, the thing that's going to be the factor here will be the lapped traffic. It looks like they are making their way past a couple of the lapped cars now, but it took them a while to clear some of those slower cars that were at the front of the field after that safety car race start. But you're right, we're heading towards the last lap, and it's going to be a blockbuster finish. I reckon we might see a last lap pass for the lead and for the win.
Oh no! Oh, Dylan O'Keefe's been turned by that lap marker car. That lap down car has turned him around.
He'll be really annoyed about that because that was not a car that he was battling against for position. So we'll check it out on the replay. But he was clear of that blue Audi. They weren't fighting for position. Whoever's in that blue car really should have given way to him.
Yep, should have backed out a lot earlier and not even thought about it. I think he just completely missed his braking marker, tried to pull it up. And yeah, just made a little bit of contact there. So unfortunate for Dylan. It looks like he's actually pulled it up. And oh, he's actually crashed into the pit lane. Wait for this one. There's been a huge pile up. Oh, wow.
Oh.
Okay, that wasn't what I was expecting.
I don't think I've ever seen a car roll on the front straight at Bathurst ever, and that's probably the first time I've seen it.
I think we had one in the 1000 on Sunday, so that's the second one we've had in 3 days, but before that I'd never seen one. Thomas Hinds versus Job Stewart. This is for the win, and this is for the race win in this event. They've got a 9-second lead over the rest of the field, so it is down to these two drivers, Job Stewart, Thomas Hinds. Who will take this one out? Well, it could be neither of them, because we can see how easily an incident can happen.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be very, very close between, obviously, Hinds and Stewart. Both very, very close rivals on track. They do not leave anything on the table, so it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Hinds is really, really close, heading into the elbow. Is he going to look to go up the inside? No, he's going to leave it and try and get a run onto Conrod straight. He's got fairly close. He's actually got the run, so Hinds is going to go up the inside of Job Stewart here, down Conrod. They're going to be side by side, and I'd hazard a guess Hinds is probably going to have the advantage here.
Definitely, because he'll have the inside for the main part of the chase, but Job Stewart won't give it up. He's going to use that side draft advantage and try and come back through. And look at the overspeed now that Job Stewart's got. They hit 245 Ks at the kink. How's that for Job Stewart? Bouncing it off the curb. But Thomas Hinds now into the lead. Can he cover off the spot? Not quite yet. It's not done. Who's going to take this one out? Hinds with the big advantage. Job Stewart's going to throw it right around the outside. Will he be able to do it? Doesn't look like it. Oh, he might actually be able to do it. That's a great little bit of driving. He's off in the dirt. Thomas Hinds, congratulations. Picks up the win in week number 6 of Just Send It.
Yeah,
What a thriller.
Great driving by Hinsey there to end up getting the race win. Oh, has there been an accident at the chase involving a few cars? One of them, Cooper Murray, I think it was.
Glenwood was the car that was facing the wrong way. We'll see if we can pick up who the other cars were involved. It looks like actually the two Wolfchester cars there actually got together. So the 12 car of Andrew Collins, he's just turned Glenwood. Oh, that's what we sort of enjoy seeing. There's the banter between teammates. Have a look at this here from Collins.
Yeah, he's looked up the end. He's actually been pushed wide by his teammate, and then ended up just giving him
gives him one back.
He still managed to get home in the top 6 though, Andrew Collins. So another top
Watch
8
this second
finish.
bit though. Bang! He just gets another turn for his trouble. Not sure who that other car was there in the blue and green car, but Thomas Hinds will be over the moon with that result in the end, because he picks up the win in this week's Just Send It competition. Job Stewart in second, Brad Newman in third, Darren McKenzie fourth. Nick Foster, he'll be happy with the 5th place position. He's come from nowhere to get 5th in the end. Andrew Collins, Craig Edwards and Phil Litchford, the top 8 in the field. As a few drivers just have a little bit of fun. They release a bit of tension from that race. Blake Neck and David Lord round at the top 10 with Nick Carroll, Cooper Webster, Alexander Newton, Cooper Murray, Jay Hansen and Josh Morris. Top 16. The rest will run through the field. What a night of racing that was. That was incredible.
Yeah, absolutely awesome night of racing. Just plenty of action going on everywhere, every single lap, every direction you can think of. Just, yeah, awesome stuff. And TCR putting it on once again as normal.
Lockie,
that's
thoughts about that?
Well, if that's any preview for what we can expect when the real-life version of TCR heads to Mount Panorama next year, I can't wait. Bring it on.
Yep, we cannot wait. Of course, we'll be back again next week, same time, same channel, same place. I'm going to step aside for next week, though, Cam. I think might come back again, and we'll have Jonathan Simon back in the booth for next week as well. Of course, he's got other commitments tonight, but be good to have him back in the booth next week. We don't know where we're racing yet. That's always the exciting part about this. The fact that nobody knows where we're racing until race day or the day before, I think that's the best element of this series. I think that's the thing that makes it so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fantastic series, and can't wait for next week. Hopefully, I'm running on all cylinders instead of only 5 this time. But unfortunately, that's why life works sometimes. And yeah, hopefully, we see some even better racing next week.
Lockie, thanks for jumping in again. That was thoroughly enjoyable, and it's been a pleasure to have you in the booth once again.
My pleasure. This might become a regular Tuesday night occupation for me, I reckon.
You're more than welcome to pop in anytime you like. We need to thank all of our big supporters and sponsors in the background. Wolfchester, Vantage Freight, The Hype Project, GB Galvanizing, SimWorks, and Jack Technologies. Of course, if you are wanting to get involved, you don't have a PC to get on iRacing, shoot Jack Technologies a message. They will help you out by getting you organised with a really cool spec PC for this series. If you really want to lash out and get yourself a really cool racing rig, hit up SimWorks as well. They will hook you up with some really special mint gear. Cam, thanks for jumping in. See our next broadcast tomorrow night. What a big week we've got once again. Of course, last week was huge, but this week is just as big. Tomorrow night, the Epiroc Sprint Series Australia. If you love the TCR action tonight, Thursday night at Road America, TCR action in the iRacing IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. Friday night, Parramatta Isuzu Ute AOSC, and Sunday, Oceanic Endurance Championship. Monday night, we also have the iRacing official V8 series. And as we said, next week, 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Time, we'll be back for Just Send It once again. Will we have 7 winners in 7 weeks? There's a very big chance that we will. Make sure you tune in to find out. Until next time, we thank you for watching. Bye for now.